In the middle of the Pacific Ocean is a chain of 76 atolls spread out over an area roughly the size of Europe, the Tuamotus, one of the largest archipelagos in French Polynesia. Sleepy isles for centuries, these simple rings of coral, seemingly hanging between the sky and the waves, could only be reached by schooner that brought supplies to the Tuamotu archipelago. Located 500 kilometers from Tahiti, the atoll of Fakarava is now accessible by daily flights. This emerald isle, the pearl of the Tuamotus, invites contemplation. Nothing much seems to have changed here since time began. Family-run guest houses and other tourist facilities now supplement the island's economy, which is based on traditional resources. This harmony seems to have attracted the white-tipped reef sharks. They appear pretty harmless and almost welcoming. Is this the result of a successful symbiosis between the Tuamotus and their environment? This haven of peace may have an eternal quality about it, but it is also synonymous with fragility. With the development of tourism, Fakarava must now rise to the challenge of preserving the ecosystem of this coral garden. On the south side of the island, in Tetamanu, one man has understood that the next few years will be crucial. Sane is the memory of this earthly paradise.
I know most of Polynesia. I was a captain of a schooner, and I used to call at Fakarava. I'd cross the lagoon, and I'd sail past this little village. It was a revelation. I felt drawn to this place. The local people did not realize they were living in paradise. I thought to myself, one day I'll live here, because I love this place. First I'll move here, and maybe I'll find a way to make some money. I began with 4 bungalows to accommodate 8 people, which isn't much. 8 people in a place like this is perfectly acceptable. And little by little, more and more people came. I added a few more bungalows to satisfy the demand. But 10 or 12 people, that's enough. Everyone forgets the crossing, the distance, when they're here. They forget everything. They're in awe of it. They love to discover a place that is so well preserved. There aren't many inhabitants, so it's a total escape. I say to them, please be careful, don't destroy it. If you decided to come here, it's because it's preserved, so let's keep it that way. Here you find the real Polynesia, with all its natural wonders. I started feeding him. Little by little, he came closer and let people stroke him. That is how he became my friend, and everyone else's. And the tourists in the village come to see this Napoleon Rasa, the Napoleon Rasa of Tetamanu. He likes having his picture taken. Come on.
The immense lagoon of the commune of Fakarava, which includes 7 atolls, has been designated a Biosphere Reserve by UNESCO. This entails the implementation of environmental protection measures in collaboration with the inhabitants, and the sustainable use of natural resources for the benefit of local communities. Tourism in Fakarava is based on diving. To fully admire the biodiversity of this area, you have to go out to the reef. Jean-Jacques, a fisherman from elsewhere, fully savors this wonderful environment, an intimacy with nature he delights in every day.
I left New Caledonia in 1987 to spend a month in Papeete. And I met my wife there, so I ended up staying. I've been here for 20 years. That's my story. They're good-sized trout. 2 is always better. I stayed in Fakarava because it's my wife's atoll, and all her family is here. And I love the quiet. I go fishing, organise excursions, and run a guest house. Our guests stay in local houses, traditional dwellings. They live just like the locals. I've modernised them, but that's what they appreciate, as well as the wildness of the atoll. That's why they love it here. Also, the atoll is now under the protection of UNESCO. It's fantastic for us. They're going to close a quarter of the lagoon for 3 years to replenish fish stocks. And then they'll open that area and close another. And what's fabulous is the area is protected by law. It will be preserved. You can't do as you please. Some atolls have been destroyed. Those atolls serve as a lesson. The good thing is, people are now aware of that. As the lagoon is protected, I always find fish. There's no need for a freezer. Our guests are happy because the fish is fresh. And that makes us happy. Everyone is happy.
In Fakarava, the proliferation of pearl farms, like tourism, seems to be an economic alternative for the preservation of the ecosystem. Günther left his native Germany to cultivate one of the Tuamotus' principal resources, the black pearl. Like all forms of farming, pearl farming is a source of economic growth and demographic expansion. Indeed, in the Tuamotu archipelago, the population has tripled in the past 25 years. This is also true of Fakarava.
People are rarely satisfied with what they have. I simply knew I would give up my career as an architect at some point. And I stopped at 55, or maybe a bit earlier. I had no plans to set up a pearl farm, but my wife was born in Fakarava. Otherwise, we wouldn't have come. Also, it's a place no one has heard of. They don't even know where it is.
Was ganz was anderes machen und außerdem an einer Stelle von der Welt, wo die Leute nicht mal wissen, wo das ist.
The fact is, the lagoon is well preserved. It's 60 kilometers long by 25 kilometers wide, and only 900 people live on the island. Fakarava is still in pretty good shape. We make a living from pearls. They are produced by the oysters in the lagoon. It's important as it means the water must be as good in the future as it is now. But I think the fact that this is our livelihood compels us to be careful, to ensure the lagoon does not become unbalanced. If everyone comes and says, "I don't care about the Tuamotus, I'll do as I please," then it will no longer function. 2 years ago, we became part of the UNESCO program. It has a pretty good motto, Men and Biosphere. This motto demonstrates you must not prohibit people from doing things, you simply need regulations to keep things in check. You have to live in harmony with others and the environment, be they people, plants or fish. You cannot create your own personal paradise.
Fakarava is a beautiful place. We are hugely fortunate to be here. God, we know, has blessed us all. But even though we live in such a beautiful setting, if we don't make the most of it by living in harmony with others around us and with nature's gifts, this paradise will become hell.
In the Tuamotus, the tranquility of the lagoon contrasts starkly with the incessant activity of the passes. The atoll of Fakarava has 2 openings to the sea. With each tide, it empties, then refills. It is an exceptional spot for fishermen, but also for the island's main tourists, divers. Fakarava's southern pass is known all over the world as an amazing dive spot. Incredible images in these waters where 400 grey sharks have been recorded. This unusual nautical ballet should also help dispel the myth of sharks as ruthless man-eaters. Here, in the islands, they are seen as an ecosystem regulator, not as an enemy. Today is Sane's day off. He joins his wife Annabelle for a spot of Tahitian spearfishing.
Let's go fishing.
Whether he's working or resting, Sane lives in harmony with this lagoon he so adores. Here again, a loving marriage combines clouds and waves with the shimmer of a fish or the swooping flight of a bird. Pursuing his dream, Sane will not rest until he finds new gardens of Eden to protect and share with others.
It's a Robinson Crusoe-style adventure. You fish, you sleep in this. I used to do this with my parents. That's why I have this knowledge. With a bit of experience, you can do without modern things. We didn't have a supermarket, but we lived well. We were happier then. There were fewer problems in those days. There we go. What a wonderful life. Tuamotus. It's a dog's life.